Capitol Watch and law enforcement leaders from southern Colorado are making their case to the state legislature, asking them to change last year's criminal justice reform bill. They believe that legislation raised the risk to public safety by limiting when an officer can arrest someone suspected of possession of a weapon by a previous offender. News 5's Andy Cohen is live from the Pueblo Police Department tonight with a closer look at the new law and the changes that our local law enforcement leaders want to see. Andy?
Rob, Pueblo Police Chief Chris Noller spoke to the state legislature yesterday. He was joined by Fountains Police Chief Chris Heberer and 4th Judicial District Attorney Michael Allen. All of those leaders asking our state lawmakers for an amendment to add the crimes of motor vehicle theft and drug dealing to the list of convictions that could trigger that weapons offense charge.
Police and parole officers in Pueblo caught up with Amada Pacheco Salmon and Preston Reno last Tuesday. She had outstanding warrants. He was carrying drugs and a stolen gun. But officers weren't able to arrest Reno on one specific crime that he would have been arrested for if they'd caught them a day earlier.
Because it was March 1st, we could not take him to jail or arrest him for being in possession of a firearm, being a felon, because it's no longer a crime for him.
35 aye votes, 0 no votes, 0 absent, and 0 excused. Senate Bill 271 is passed.
State lawmakers passed the massive criminal justice reform bill, Senate Bill 271, last year. Those changes took effect at the beginning of this month, and one big change, the list of felony convictions that trigger charges for possession of a weapon by a previous offender. It was reduced to just 49 crimes specified by the Colorado Victims' Rights Act.
Hundreds of felonies less.
The bill was the result of 2 years' worth of work by the Commission on Criminal and Juvenile Justice. Those members include victims' rights groups, prosecutors, defense attorneys, former offenders, probation, parole, and law enforcement. It passed the state Senate last year with unanimous support.
I predict that we'll be doing these little cleanup things for another session as well.
And 2 bills were introduced this session to make those cleanups. One adds about 60 more crimes to the felony conviction list that would trigger the charge of possession of a weapon by a previous offender.
I'm pleased to share with you that the law also gets stronger in that any individual who uses or threatens the use of a weapon when having been convicted of an underlying crime will no longer be probation eligible. All of those individuals will face a mandatory prison sentence.
At Thursday's committee hearing, Pueblo Police Chief Chris Noller asked lawmakers to add 2 more crimes to the list: drug distribution and motor vehicle theft.
In Pueblo alone last year, 28% of our 29 homicides had clear drug involvement. The violence tied with drug distribution is further demonstrated by these examples from our community.
And Senator Cook had offered an amendment that would have added those 2 additional crimes to that list that would trigger the weapons offense charge. However, the chairman of the committee, Senator Pete Lee from the Springs, blocked a vote on that, saying that it was outside of the scope of the bill title. In Pueblo, Andy Cohen, News 5.